All right, I got another pistol here to bring to you guys, and this is a recent acquisition of mine, but it's one I've been kind of looking at for just a little bit. So, in my kind of experience with 22 LR pistols, I've been trying to find something that's a little bit more analogous to your conventional striker-fired pistols, something that looks, and handles a little bit more like a PDP, for instance, or a VP9, or insert other 9mm polymer frame striker fired 9mm pistol, right? So I wanted a 22 pistol that closely mimicked that because for everything that the Ruger Mark IV, Mark II series, Mark series in general is really, really good for training fundamentals, it's not exactly the same manual of arms as a conventional striker fired pistol, which is of course the most common type of pistol that people are going to be training with and experienced with. So I wanted something a little bit more closer to that manual of arms so I could use it both as a trainer for myself and for other people to kind of introduce them and roll them into a more conventional, standard, if you will, pistol kind of like this, right? So I originally had a Taurus TX22 a few years ago, and while I was actually really satisfied with like the ergonomics and the trigger feel, trigger pull, and the performance of it, it had a lot of issues with keyholing for the barrel. So I ended up moving that, and haven't looked back at it since. So I'm not sure if Taurus has rectified the issue or not, but frankly, I have no need of a keyholing weapon, regardless of what it's for. So I moved that on. And I know there's the Glock 44 that's out there as well, but just something about those things. I mean, I'm already not a Glock person to start with, so having even just a 10-round, Glock 19 size 22 like that, I don't know, I wasn't really feeling it. So, of course, Walther slash Umarex, of course, makes 22 pistols in all various sizes and shapes, and so I went with the PPQ 22, as you see right here. This is the really cool 5-inch barrel model with the nice fiber optic sight and everything. It's supposed to mimic, of course, the full-size PPQ M2, and you can tell it's the M2 because it's got the button mag release here. The M1s, of course, have the traditional paddle style release. So I was looking at this one to pretty much, fill that niche, that role that I wanted earlier. And of course, I knew the Walther one was going to be really nice because Walther ergonomics are, of course, fantastic, and this is absolutely no exception. I mean, this is basically a one-to-one size copy of a PPQ, and I've had great experiences shooting PPQs. I never bought one, oddly enough, but great experiences. And of course, with the PDP being the modern evolution of a PPQ, same like legendary ergonomics, very similar controls, almost really identical actually. Down to the point where you can take PDP slides and put them on PPQ frames and vice versa and stuff. It's very similar. But anyway, this is basically the same size as a PDP. So let me see if I can line these up here for you. So get kind of an idea. They're basically the same size, which is pretty awesome too, because unfortunately they don't make a PDP in 22 yet, as far as I know, but that would be super cool. So I settled for the regular PPQ 22, and I really wanted the long barrel version like this because sight radius, of course, is very important for pistols like this, and of course, honestly, I just think it looks cooler. I really love the styling of a PPQ. They just look like great pistols. So Walther really knocked it out of the park when it came to PDPs and PPQs, of course. So so 5-inch barrel, also to get a little bit more velocity out of your 22, get a little more oomph. And of course, with like all of these Walther 22 pistols, they use the very same little threaded barrel adapter nut here. So this is really nice too for my, shall we say, ecosystem of 22 pistols, right? Because I have so many of them, they can all use the same adapters. So that makes it very easy to mount my suppressor on here, which, by the way, this gun has worked absolutely flawlessly with suppressor on it. So my little Warlock 2 there from Silencer Co. has been just absolutely fantastic on this gun. And it looks even cooler when you put it on there because it sticks out about this far, and it just, it balances really well, honestly, and it looks good, it feels good, shoots good, awesome. So yeah, what this comes with is two of these 12 round mags, which is pretty cool. I like that they're 12 rounders, not just the usual 10, although I typically only load them up to 10 anyways. Interesting to note is that this magazine design seems very similar to the other like Walther pistols, like the Colt Walther 1911-22. The magazine body is almost identical to this. So as an experiment, I actually took the Walther 1911 magazines and I shoved it in here. And while it doesn't lock exactly, if I actually held it up, like I pushed on the base of the mag and held it up and cycled the pistol, it actually would feed around. So that was pretty interesting. It wouldn't lock open or anything, but it's interesting to see that how close these designs actually are on the inside. So that's pretty cool. And of course, with a lot of the Walther 22s as well, this is a fixed barrel design, straight blowback. What I like though is that the slide is actually made out of aluminum and not something cheaper like the pot metal stuff alloys they like to use for these kinds of things. The takedown's a little bit different from a regular PPQ, so I'm gonna just pull down on these tabs here, which is a little tough. And then it's your usual kind of pull it up and take the slide off if I can get it. Come on, there we go. It's a little dirty. I haven't cleaned it from the range session there, but yeah. So there you go. You got your recoil buffer here, along with the guide rod right in there with the recoil spring. Very minimal recoil spring. It doesn't really need a whole lot. That works for and against this design too, because I have seen instances where, of course, I try to do a +1 with this pistol, like 12+1, and depending on the load that you're using and having a suppressor on there or not, the slide may not have enough force or ability to really get over feeding the next round correctly. So yeah, it works both for and against this design. So I mean, it's not going to be meant for like super duper combat purposes or anything like that, but for a target gun, it's perfectly acceptable. So you can see the usual design in here. This is of course a sleeve that sits over the barrel, fixed barrel in here that can come out the back. Pretty similar, we've all seen it before. Hammer fired gun as well, not striker fired like the actual PPQ is, but honestly I don't really notice a difference. The trigger pull, I will say, actually is a little bit different from your usual PPQ. I will say it's not as light or as crisp, and that's largely due to it's a hammer fired gun. The whole trigger system is quite different from your standard PPQ. And in the slide, of course, it has to be lightweight, so there's almost nothing in this. Just that little breech block in there that's pressed in there to feed the rounds and have a more solid face for the rounds to fire and ignite, of course. I know a lot of the other YouTubers out there like to make note of this little steel pin that they've inserted here on the slide to prevent the slide stop release lever from wearing on the aluminum. That's really cool. Glad they did that. Lightning cuts here. Of course, there's no compensation on this barrel or anything like that. They're just here to reduce weight and to look pretty cool. But this slide doesn't weigh anything. So yeah, pretty bog standard here. Nothing we haven't seen before. So I'll just put this back together. In some ways, these direct blowbacks like this, with how the sliding comes off and everything, kind of reminds me a lot of like Makarov pistols. Kind of similar idea. Cool. So just that easy. So ergonomics, like I said, this thing is absolutely fantastic. It locks in the hand so well. I love it. I also love the really big slide lock release levers that are on both sides. So just like the PDP, it really allows me to, when I'm changing mags out, when it's locked open like this, I can rest my thumb right there on top of it. It's really nice to change those mags out, put it in, boom, send it forward. So easy. And of course, it's also really easy to do with the left hand as well. So check that mag out, put it in, boom, just like that, easy. The racking force, of course, is also super light on this as well because there is no locking system, and the recoil spring is quite minimal. So the, I don't know, it's just an overall really easy to operate, very shootable. For trigger pull, like I said, I'm not going to pull it on here because this is not a rimfire that you can dry fire, unfortunately. I will say the TX22 had an advantage there when it came to that because it could be dry fired. That's pretty good for training purposes. But yeah, the trigger on this will not feel like a PPQ, a regular PPQ that is, but that is not to say that it's not good. It actually is pretty good. I would say not as good as like my Mark IV, but it's getting very, very close. It feels more like a substantial, a real trigger, quote unquote, as far as like the shape of it. It feels like a PPQ trigger in terms of the trigger shoe shape. So not like the Mark IV, which feels a little bit more like a target pistol style. This feels more like your traditional striker fire pistol, of course, with the little trigger dingus right there. But yeah, the trigger pull is not really too heavy. The brake is very crisp, very clean. Reset is so-so. I mean, it's there, but it's not gonna blow your mind like the PDP or the PPQ will. So it's perfectly serviceable. Nothing wrong with it. What else? So I will say the one thing I had issues with the PPQ series is the cocking serrations are kind of shallow, to be honest. And with the rounded kind of slide design of PPQs like this, it's really not the easiest to grab, deepest thing. Like I have slipped plenty of times trying to grab this thing. So they're not the best, but of course on the PDP they definitely improved that. But yeah, so shootability, I will say this thing is really, really good because the sights actually are adjustable. So these are, they call them like Novak style, or whatever you want to call them, but they are adjustable only for elevation, which is a little disappointing. I would have rather have had a full like target set, fully adjustable back here for windage and elevation, but this is only elevation, which is, you know, it's serviceable. The fiber optic on this is very, very bright, and it fits nicely in the rear notch here. There is a slight amount of air, as you can see there in the sight picture. Very slight amount of air, which is to be expected with PPQs. Every PPQ or P99 style pistol I've shot, not the PDP, has had quite a bit of air between the front and the rear sight, which is okay. You know, it's all right. Are these like the best like target style sights I've shot on the 22 pistol? No. I'd say the Mark II, the Mark IV are much better in that regard, but of course they're purpose designed for that. The gun actually did come with a spare front sight as well, which is pretty cool. I like that they do that. Unfortunately, the dovetail for this PPQ22 is not going to be the same as your standard PPQs, which is a bit of a shame because that would have been nice to have that cross compatibility for you know, aftermarket support and that kind of thing. Because if that was the case, then I'd absolutely go out of my way at some point to replace this with like a LPA, fully adjustable rear sight, and do all of that. As far as accuracy, I've got a few targets here. I will say it's very good. Don't mind what, you know, you might see a little, quite a few flyers. That's really just me. But we have one target here. This is at 25 yards. And the holes are a little bit hard to see. It may look a little bit all over the place, but this is 10 shots at 25 yards, and you know, this is okay. I got a better one here. This here is also at 25 yards, and you can see that flyer that's way the heck over there. But overall, I mean, aside from these two holes up here, which may or may not be just me, maybe the ammo, you know, the sun is not quite in the correct alignment with the moon, whatever, right? But this group down here is actually pretty decent. Most groups I was getting for the day that I was shooting this was around 2 to 2.2 inches at 25 yards with just regular bulk box ammo. So really not all that bad, and quite acceptable for, you know, my regular pistols that aren't 22s. You know, like I always say, 2-inch groups at 25 yards is my, you know, standard for pistol accuracy, and this one's definitely capable of doing that. I will say though, when I was shooting the first couple groups, so I'll just show this one here. This is kind of all over the place, but I have multiple different aiming points. Just I wanted to see where this thing was hitting because it was not zeroed for 25 yards. This is the first 10 shots right up here in this group here, and I was aiming like right here. So at 25 yards, it was hitting super freaking high. So I had to, you know, go through and make my adjustments and slowly bring it down to where it needed to be. So for the first 10 shots at 25 yards, this honestly isn't terrible. So if you take these out, or even if you do measure this whole thing across, it's about 3 inches. But taking this group out and only measuring like up to here, all the way down to here, that's I think about 2.2 or 2 inches, something like that. But honestly not bad. But the few flyers and kind of overall little spread of accuracy was due to a particular gentleman who was next to me trying to train his, I don't know, girlfriend or whatever, woman friend, with him how to shoot pistols for the first time ever in her life, and he chose the worst possible thing ever. He had like this little SIG 239, I think, in 40 cal, and she's never handled a pistol before. They had no discussion prior at all how to handle any of this stuff. So she was just waving her gun around like crazy, you know, and it's a double action, single action pistol. So of course, when they loaded the round, hammer's cocked back, right? And she's just going all kinds of crazy, pointing it all over the friggin' place. And there were times where this dude would actually put his hand in front of the muzzle and be like, "Hey, that's loaded. You need to be careful with that." And I'm like an arm's length away from these people. So if she stuck out her arm like this right next to me, we'd be touching fingertips, and that's how close we were at the range. So if someone's doing that with a loaded pistol on single action, they're just finger on the trigger too, by the way, just going like this and doesn't know what the hell she's doing. You tend to get a little like, am I gonna get shot today? You know, it was not a comfortable situation, and so trying to maintain a good sight picture while that's going on next to you, it's just like, oh, dude, oh, I really don't want to get shot today. That'd be nice, thanks. And of course, he was absolutely terrible. Would not listen to any advice. Would not listen to what the range officers were telling him. She was absolutely panicking out of her mind. I mean, her grip was like, I've seen this so often, but it's like the female grip, I guess, where like they cross their thumbs back here. They do this number. They're holding it like way down here, fingers on the trigger like this, and she's just banging away. And I'm like, oh my god, I can't do this. So I asked for a different spot on the range, and that's where I did the rest of my shooting, and it was markedly improved, I'll say that. But yeah, gosh, I could go on all day about horrible range stories I've had. I just might do that, actually, as like a little like side video. But anyway, back to the pistol. So yeah, I've had about 700 rounds through this thing now, using all kinds of different ammo, and it actually does cycle with standard velocity. Ammunition like CCI standard, MagTech standard stuff works just fine. It works even better with the suppressor, of course, because it creates that additional back pressure, which helps to cycle the action a little bit more reliably. And the best part is this pistol, despite having a fairly sizable ejection port like this, when I was shooting it with the suppressor, I got no backblast in my face at all. So a lot of the 22 pistols that I've used that have I've had the suppressor on, if I use high velocity like stingers or mini mags or velocitors or things like that, the amount of blowback and crap coming out of the gun itself and hitting me in the face is incredible. The Beretta M9 22 LR upper is really bad for that. The Walther P22 is really bad for that. But this one had nothing at all. So it's a very, very pleasant experience to shoot this with just a regular 22 can, nothing special. I don't have any fancy like flow through cans or anything like that. Just a real budget suppressor, and I got no backblast in my face. So that's a really, really welcome, I guess, feature, if you will, or notable thing about this pistol for me anyways, because I hate suppressor blowback. Like, it feels like someone's dipping their fingers in oil, like hot oil, and like dabbing it on your face like that every time you take a shot, and it just stings. It's not a pleasant experience. I don't like it. It's tolerable, but I don't like it. But yeah, none of that with this gun, and that is very, very welcome. So a notable feature. So yeah, overall, shootability, accuracy, ergonomics, everything is, reliability, all that stuff is awesome. The only malfunctions I've had with this is when this gun gets really, really dirty, like when I run the suppressor for like 300 or 400 rounds and I don't clean it. It's hard to get a shot in here, but the feed ramp in here is very, very small. And when you start using like 22 ammunition that has a lot of like lubricant on, or like grease or whatever on the front of it, or on the bullet, I mean, a lot of that stuff can get gummed up here on the feed ramp. And typically what I'll see is the round will try to feed and it'll hit that ramp and get stuck like right there, because it's all gummed up and everything, and the force of the slide just isn't quite enough to push it all the way through. Typically when that happens, all you got to do is just hit the back of it and it'll go right in, no problem at all. And of course, like I said earlier, the springs and everything else in here, it's not really enough to overcome or cycle correctly when it's a 12+1. Maybe if you have like a suppressor with really, really high velocity ammo, it might be able to cycle, but in my experience, it has not been able to do that. So, but then again, I don't think anyone's really going to be carrying this as a defensive sidearm. At least I really don't think you should. Not when you have, you know, the exact same size pistol in 9mm, you know. So anyway, yeah, so everything all taken together, this pistol is absolutely fantastic. I love shooting it, and you know, lets me practice, like I said, a more conventional style of pistol, you know, for getting my reps in for your striker fired 9mm pistol, right? But yeah, Walther just makes a really excellent product, and this is no exception here. You know, so I've been very pleased with this one so far, and for what I paid for it too. I got this on CDNN Sports for like $300. Awesome, awesome. So, yeah, I'm just really happy with it. I'm glad I have it, and this will serve as my trainer pistol for striker fired pistols. So, but yeah, just figured I'd bring that to you guys, and you know, yeah, if you guys are thinking about, you know, 22 pistol for the same reason that I thought about, this is awesome. Of course, I really do hope that the Taurus TX22s have fixed their issues with keyholing in the barrels, because honestly, there wasn't really a whole lot wrong with that gun either, and of course it held more ammo in the magazines, like 16 rounds versus 12, you know, so that even more closely mimics the round capacity of your conventional striker fired pistols, right? Most are going to be 15, 16, 17 rounds. So I hope they fix that, but you know, honestly, you can't go wrong with one of these. So anyway, let's bring it to you guys. Hope you liked it, and we'll see you next time.